to our virtual yoga class. My name is Vanessa and I'm here to support you in your yoga. We'll begin class by laying on our backs. Noticing that right now your practice begins, you're noticing your inhale and your exhale. Our yoga practice is a process of attention and presence to support us as we work on our flexibility, strength, and balance. So that awareness that you bring into your breath right now is that same awareness that's going to help you as we move through all the poses in the class. So feel free to gather your breath and exhale, sigh out. So your hands, backs of the hands handling on the floor. Knees can be bent or you can stretch your legs out. By bent knees, I mean both soles of the feet on the floor, knees bent, or you can stretch your legs out here. We're taking a moment to gather anywhere between 5 to 10 breaths. You don't necessarily have to count the breath. Noticing your neck and shoulders. Noticing belly and chest rise and fall with your breath. If you have trouble concentrating, you can always lengthen your inhale and your exhale a little longer than you're accustomed to. I recommend inhaling, exhaling, sighing out. That's one way to really immerse yourself in your body and start creating that awareness of the physical, mental, emotional release just by a deep breath and exhaling, sighing out. It takes a lot of practice to return to the body from one moment to the next. In this moment, right now, it's an opportunity to release to-do lists for the afternoon, evening, for the next day. It's about arriving to your body and accessing that wisdom in your body. It's not about doing anything necessarily perfectly. It's just moving with intention, with awareness towards greater and greater skill. And we welcome our breath. We welcome our experience to support us in that process of becoming more skillful, of coming and returning to our breath, of accepting our experience. Another breath here or two. And then we'll invite a full body stretch, lengthening our legs, lifting our abdomen up towards the ceiling. Interlacing our fingers, spreading our palms wide. Gentle stretch here throughout the length of the spine. Hold here. And we'll begin our class with a twist here. We're bending our knees, dropping our knees towards the left, bringing our arms out to a T, and then dropping our head towards the right. And then as you're here, once again, that's a practice of returning to your body. Here, when we're in a supportive, restorative pose, is an opportunity to release tension and practice softening the body, which is surprisingly something we have to practice even when we're laying down. So as you're in this twist, first, to receive the full benefit of the twist, make sure that your head and your knees are facing opposite directions. From there, scan your neck down the spine to hips and to your knees. You can imagine your knees pulling further down towards the floor. Notice if there's any pockets where you're holding your body up where it's unnecessary to do so. And then release, soften, even if it's just 10% further. And then invite a comfortable breath. A deep breathing is more difficult in poses with twists. Find a comfortable breath. Body is relaxed, yet mind is focused. Focus on your breath. Focus on what's shifting and opening for you in this twist. It can be subtle. It can be not subtle. When we're in twists, we're supporting our lower back, mid back, upper back. Around our hips as well. Invite another breath here. And then bring your knees back to center. They'll drop your head towards the left, and then bring your knees towards the right, making sure your head and your knees are facing opposite directions. Scanning your body, noticing if you can release just 10% further. Invite that comfortable breath. And then notice that ability to be relaxed in the body, yet focused, attentive, and aware with your attention, with your breath. Invite another breath here or two. Bring your knees back to center. Grab your knees with your hands. Rock a little bit towards the left and towards the right. Pay attention to your lower spine around your tailbone, lower back. And then from here, start to grab your feet with your hands and then start to lengthen one leg more than the other. Bend both knees generously. You want to start activating that stretch in heels, toes, down to your hamstrings and hips. You can rock towards the left and towards the right and massage the lower back and mid back. Take 2 more breaths here. Invite a deep belly breath here. Shift your attention back to your breath. And then after that next breath, bend both knees, round your spine, take your forehead up towards your knees, chin towards chest, remain here. And then go ahead and roll up. Keep your legs extended out, make any adjustments here to your seat. Sit bones are on the floor, those are the bones near your glutes. And then check in with your posture, if there's anything collapsing in your body. And to a point that's comfortable, just lengthen that spine, activating the core, noticing that there's any rounding or lifting up of the shoulders. Draw your shoulders down. We're gonna focus here on a hamstring stretch here. First, I want you to flex your feet and then notice the gentle stretch that's activated as you flex your feet. You're pressing your heels towards the front. Your toes are moving towards you. You're imagining you're pressing something, so you're activating a little bit there around the quads. So imagine you're pressing your feet against a wall there. Breathe into your lower body. Notice if there's any tension around the knees. Breathe into your spine. Breathe into your neutral chin. And then after that next breath, we'll start to fold, leading with our chest and our heart, bending your knees to any range is helpful for you, but at least they'll activate the hamstrings. You're also stretching around the calves here as well. So as you're folding here, you can choose to keep your feet flexed or you can relax your feet. It'll be a more intense stretch with your feet flexed. And then hands can reach anywhere. They can reach to your thighs, to your shins and ankles, or to your toes. Deep belly breath. It's a good time to invite a deep breath, noticing your boundary and seeing where can you fold just a little bit more. Deep belly breath. One more breath cycle here. Release the pose. Lengthen your spine. Again, activating your core. So we're activating or we're cultivating that body awareness here. So we're noticing any collapsing in the spine. Activate our core. We slide our shoulders down. Let's point our toes. And release. Bend your right knee. Take your left arm out. Twist towards the right. Flex your left foot towards the front. Spine is long. Chin shifts towards your right shoulder. And then once you invite a breath there, release. Now bend your left knee, flex your right foot, lengthen your spine, take your right arm out, and twist towards the left. Chin moves towards that left shoulder. And now release. We'll shift out of position and shift into our tabletop, making sure our hands are right beneath our shoulders and knees or hips width distance apart. So it's just standard practice as we begin to continue more skillful in yoga. We want to watch the alignment of our hands and our knees. And in the pose like tabletop, you make sure your hands are about shoulders width apart, knees, hips width distance apart. Now we're gonna look over our right shoulder in order to stretch the left side of the neck, and now drop your head all the way down. Top of the head is parallel to the floor. You're practicing softening your neck, softening the muscles there. Still gaining some stability here through your palms connected on the mat. And now look over your left shoulder, stretching that right side of the neck. Left side as well, you're stretching both sides. And now moving at your own pace, drop your head, chin moves towards your chest, and now look over your right shoulder. Take a couple of rounds here, dropping your head, chin shifts towards your chest, look over that left shoulder. Find some stability here with palms on the mat. And then once you've taken another round here on the left and one more round on the right, just make sure you take one more round on each side. Come back to neutral. We're going to inhale up into our cow pose. Now, when in my cow pose, I'm lifting my tailbone purposely. My chest is open. I'm pressing through my palms. Exhale around your spine. I'm purposely shifting my chin towards my chest. I'm tucking my tailbone in. My core is active here. Press your palms on the floor. You're separating the shoulder blades. And then move at your own pace, lifting up into your cow pose. Exhale, round your spine. Notice that benefit of lengthening the spine and rounding the spine. In our cow pose, we round our spine. In our cow pose, we lengthen the spine. Very simple poses to protect the health of our back. One more round, inhaling to your cow pose, exhaling, rounding your spine. We'll come back to neutral. Press that left palm onto the floor. Lift your right arm up towards the ceiling. Hold. And then release your hand. Opposite side, press your left arm, or press your right hand onto the mat. Lift your left arm up. Exhale, release, step and lift up into your downward facing dog. You're in your upside down V here. We're gonna take a few breaths here. Give yourself an opportunity here to breathe into your fingertips, palms, the length of your spine. Notice hips and hamstrings open here. As you press your palms onto the mat and then bring your chest, your belly closer towards your thighs here. Heels are lifted. Invite a full body breath. Neck is relaxed. And now take your gaze between your hands. Walk or jump up to that forward fold. Take that left hand onto the floor, or you can adjust that hand onto a shin or forearm onto a thigh. Lift your right arm up towards the ceiling. There's a generous bend to my left knee. I'm pressing my right heel more firmly down towards the floor. It's intensifying a stretch there in the hamstrings and hips. I take my gaze up towards the ceiling. I lengthen my left arm up towards the ceiling as much as I can. Now you always have the option to drop your gaze down towards the floor if that creates strain for your neck. Don't forget to breathe and release. Opposite side. Lift your left arm up towards the ceiling. Press your left heel onto the floor and lengthen that leg. Release your hands, soften your neck. Take your hands to your shins, inhale halfway up. Exhale, release it, sweep our arms up overhead. And then take a moment here to notice left hand press against right hand press against left hand. It's always a practice of presence here. Remain here. Inhaling, noticing your heels, the length of your spine. Draw your shoulders down. Eyes opened or closed. We welcome our breath. We welcome our experience. We're preparing for sun salutations here. I'll go ahead and cue, but if you have to move at a different pace, go ahead. Release your hands. Inhale, arms lift. Exhale, bend your knees, fold down, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release. I'm inhaling as I step back into plank pose and exhaling as I release down. I inhale, press my palms onto the floor, tops of the feet are on the floor. Find that length in my spine. I curl my toes into our downward facing dog. Take your gaze between your hands, walk or jump up to that forward fold, hands to shin, so we inhale halfway up. Exhale, release, let's sweep our arms up overhead. Grounding through our feet. Notice both palms come to meet in front of our heart center. Inhale. Exhale. Second sun salutation, our arms lift. Exhale, we bend our knees, fold down, forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release, step back into plank pose. Keep your elbows close to your torso as you release down towards the floor. Now when I lift up into my upward face, I'm specific and purposeful in keeping my shoulders away from my ears, so collapsing that torso. I'm pressing through my palms here. Lift up, down dog. And then third, sun salutation. Let's take our gaze between our hands, walk or jump up. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release. And then inhale up. We're getting ready for our third sun salutation. Make this your personal rhythm. Releasing your hands, inhaling, lifting your arms. Hear your breath. And then lift up, downward facing dog. We'll lift our left leg, bend our knees, stack our hips. Left knee towards our left elbow. We hover here. And I'll lift your leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. And then opposite side, left knee towards your right elbow, hover here. And then lift your leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. Release your foot back down towards the floor. Invite a generous breath here. And now lift your right leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. Right knee towards your right elbow. Press through your palms for support as you lift your leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. Don't forget a generous breath when your body is active. And then knee towards your left elbow, hover. You're lifting your core up towards the ceiling. Lift your leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. Release your foot down towards the floor. And now we'll take a child's pose. Either knees close together or towards the edges of the mat. Let your breath be what it needs to be. Invite this moment of pause, the stillness. Five more breaths here in your child's pose. Being purposeful and softening neck, shoulders, hips. And then after those breaths, we'll start to shift out of our child's pose. Move slowly, intentionally with presence. We'll lift up into our downward facing dog. Now take your gaze between your hands. Walk or jump up to that forward fold. We're going to inhale halfway up. And then exhale, let's round our spine, or let's lengthen our spine. Pressing our palms, or pressing our heels on the floor, letting our arms dangle. We're rolling up slowly, releasing the rounding of our spine, lengthening our spine. We shift into a mountain pose, hands framing our hips. Take a moment to imagine that if I tried to move you, it'd be difficult to do so because you're so grounded. Core is active, heels are rooted, fingertips are spread wide, shoulders are drawn down. We'll welcome an inhale here and exhale, sigh it out. If your eyes are closed, we open our eyes. Now soften your mountain pose. You can take your shoulders up towards your ears. You can pedal your feet back and forth on the floor. We're preparing for a tree pose. So we're going to take our right or our left heel to rest on our ankle, just to take a moment to ground here. Activate our core. Notice the gentle balance that's going on here. You can always choose to remain here. And now lift your foot higher towards shin or even higher towards your thigh. You can use your hand to assist you. Find a point to focus on. You're activating glutes, you're opening hips, you're activating your core. You'll notice what your breath is like when you balance. You come into different positions here with your hands or arms. You can lift your arms up overhead if that suits you. But notice your breath here. Notice that paradox of stillness, yet a lot of flex and movement in the stillness. Invite a calm breath, noticing anything that arises here. A steady gaze will support you both in this pose, but also in the metaphor of life. A steady gaze supporting you throughout your day. In any of these balance poses, always feel free to step in or out of pose. Deep belly breath. Release your hands, release your feet, paddle your feet back and forth here. We're going to ground that pose into a chair pose. Make sure your feet are about hips width distance apart. We're gonna lift our arms. So as I'm lifting my arms and I'm bending my knees, I'm lifting my tailbone up towards the ceiling. Glutes and quads are active. You're fired up here. Invite a generous breath here. Inhale. And then exhale, bend your knees further, fold down, forward fold. Hands to shins, inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release. Your choice how you come up to standing. Make it your practice. We're noticing the subtleties and the ways we move our body creates a different inner experience. So it might work for you to roll up slowly. That might support you in slowing down. It might be better for you to lift your arms up overhead, something more invigorating. Mountain pose, very purposeful mountain pose, where you're not standing passively, but you're active. You're in integrity with the body. We'll take one breath from our heels all the way up to the crown of our head. Exhale, release. Your eyes are closed, open your eyes. Pedal your feet back and forth on the floor. And now opposite side. Our right heel rests on our ankle. We're noticing what's already active here, how we're already balancing in this pose. And now lift your foot. Either remain there or lift your foot to your shin. Use your hands to bring your foot even higher. Keep a steady gaze. Make any adjustments here with your hands, your arms. Welcoming some deep, even breaths. Noticing that paradox of movement and stillness. Inhale. Exhale. Release the pose. We're going to pedal our feet back and forth. And now prepare for our chair pose. Both feet grounded on the floor. Pose of strength here. There's a lot of stability. Very opposite energy from your tree pose. Tailbone is lifted. Inhale. Exhale. Release. Soften your neck. Let's inhale halfway up. Exhale, release. Be purposeful in how you lift to standing. Arms dangling, lifting your spine, or sweeping your arms up overhead. Come into an active mountain pose. Eyes closed or open. If your eyes are open, keep your gaze steady on one point. Fingertips are spread wide. It's a challenge here, slowing down, noticing our breath. By welcoming our breath, we welcome our experience. And then release your mountain pose, soften your mountain pose. Lift your shoulders up towards your ears. We're going to lift both arms up into two-legged balance. Palms up towards the ceiling. Sorry, you can't really see me from here. You want to lift your palms up towards the ceiling. Just imagine this outside the view of the video here. And then lift your heels halfway or all the way up. To our balance here, 2 feet on the floor, different experience from our tree pose. Notice here what is helpful, what is challenging. Check in with your breath, shoulders are away from your ears, core is active. Glutes and quads can be active here, supporting you, just depending on how high you're lifting your heels. Hold. Noticing your belly and chest rise and fall with your breath. And then release your hands, release your feet, paddle your feet back and forth here. We're going to interlace our fingers, extend our elbows, lift your gaze, then lift your chin. You're purposely bringing your shoulder blades together, opening the chest, rounding the shoulders back. Exhale, bend your knees, forward fold. You want to keep those elbows lengthened behind you. Draw your shoulder blades closer together. And now hands to shins. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release, step back into your plank pose. So release down towards the floor. Inhale up, lengthening the spine, purposely lifting my chest here, drawing my shoulders down, making sure I'm not collapsing the body here. Inhale, and exhale, downward facing dog. Generous breath here in your downward facing dog. Feel free to hear your inhale, hear your exhale. And I'll lift your left leg, bend your left knee, stack your hips. Left knee towards your left elbow, and hover here. Lift your leg, bend your knee, stack your hips. And a left knee towards that right elbow. Lift your leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. Invite a generous breath here and release your foot back down towards the floor. Lift your right leg, bend your right knee, stack your hips. Right knee towards your right elbow. You're hovering here, lifting your core up towards the ceiling. Lift your leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. Knee now towards the opposite elbow. And lift your leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. Release your foot back down towards the floor. And then step down into your child's pose. Taking that moment of rest and pause, that stillness. Lengthen your inhale and exhale if you need some more support concentrating. Our breath is that link to our physical, mental, emotional body. Take one more breath here in your child's pose. Now release your child's pose, shift into a tabletop, hands beneath your shoulders, knees hips width distance apart. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, round your spine, cat pose. Just 2 more times for a total of 3 rounds. And after those rounds, lift your right leg, bend your knee, stack your hips. And release your knee onto the floor. Opposite side, lift your left leg, bend your knee, stack your hips. Release your knee onto the floor. We'll go ahead and shift. Sit in a cross-legged position. We'll take a little mini meditation here. Go ahead and notice 5 breath cycles. Inhaling and exhaling. You can always sigh it out. Simultaneously noticing your spine, core active, shoulders soft. Arriving to your breath, arriving to your body. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. If your eyes are closed, open your eyes. We're going to drop our chin towards our chest, roll our head from one shoulder to the next. Noticing that as you work on your neck here, you're also affecting the shoulders, upper back, mid back. And start to bring your head back to neutral. Eyes opened or closed. One generous breath. Inhale here. Exhale, sigh it out. And then release your pose. Lengthen your legs out in front of you. And then core workout. We're going to take our palms up towards the ceiling. Slowly release and roll down. Chin moves towards your chest. Hover. And then drop your head all the way back. Bend both knees so they float off the floor. Rock to the left and to the right as we did earlier in the beginning of class. And then drop both knees onto the floor. We're going to take our left shin or ankle to rest on top of your thigh. Weave your left hand between your legs and then take your fingers, interlace them right behind your thigh. Either hanging in here or bringing your thigh closer towards your belly or chest. You're breathing into that left hip. One more breath here. And then release, opposite side, right shin or ankle on top of your thigh. Leave your right hand between your legs and interlace your fingers behind that thigh and hold. Bring your thigh closer towards your belly, your chest. Breathe into your right hip. And then breathe into your boundaries. See if you can bring your leg or your thigh closer towards you for a more intense stretch. Inhale. Exhale. Release. Both feet float off the floor. Grab your knees with your hands, round your spine, and now lengthen your legs. Preparing yourself for your last resting pose here. Palms up towards the ceiling. You can practice some deep, long breathing with your breath, or allow your breath to go back to its natural rhythm. Soften your forehead and jaw, neck, shoulders, down to your wrists and your fingertips. Purposely soften and release around the upper back, mid back, and lower back, especially around the area of the tailbone. And soften down the length of your legs, from your hips, behind your knees, down to your ankles and toes. Observing any thoughts and sensations without judgment, just noticing. And then we'll start to shift our attention back to our breath, inviting a generous and leisurely inhale and exhale. Restore some movement to your fingertips and your toes. You have the option of inviting a full body stretch, lifting your arms up overhead and or turning your body to one side, allowing it to remain heavy and relaxed. Invite a generous breath, a leisurely breath. And after another breath, inhaling and exhaling, start to make your way up to your seat. Notice you've been practicing presence and awareness throughout the class. So invite that in right now, appreciating your breath and your experience. We lengthen our spine, we draw our shoulders down. And in conclusion of your practice, we'll take our hands in front of our heart center, and with gratitude, inhale here, and exhale. And in the tradition of yoga, the highest in me sees the highest in you. Namaste.